Welcome. It is so good to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today for number 9 as we go forward in Unstoppable. We are continuing reading about our core values, our mindsets, and it is such a blessing to understand why we have the core values and how we're supposed to dig deep within ourselves going forward and being the best part of ourselves. Welcome, everyone. It is so good to see you. Listen, we're going to jump right in and continue with Read with Me. We stopped on page 111, so let's continue. Think about some of the habitual lies people express as nonchalant sound bites. Just kidding. Tell me the truth. I won't be mad. Oh, I'm fine. I'll call you later. I don't remember. My phone died, so I couldn't call you back. My computer crashed. I never got the email. It must have gone to spam. I wish I could be there, but I've got an appointment, a recital. Sometimes they say maybe even a funeral. Or sorry, I'm late. There was an accident. Wow. By committing to honesty and authenticity, we strengthen the most important relationships in our lives. Indeed, honesty and authenticity can be a conduit to stronger, more enjoyable connections. We cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. And when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from the offering with trust, respect, kindness, and affection, writes Bren Brown. Another study conducted at Ohio State University offers additional evidence that both authenticity and transparency work to our benefit. The study revealed that men and women who were true to themselves also tended to be more intimate and able to share and interact with their partners in addition to feeling positive about their relationship. One page 112. Let's continue. These authentic and transparent individuals reported greater personal well-being. The reasoning behind all of these benefits of transparency, says the lead author of the study, Amy Burrell, supports the need for people to know themselves well. If you trust to yourself, if you're true, to yourself, it is easier to act in ways that build intimacy in relationships. And that's going to make your relationship more fulfilling, she says. On the social front, there's a whole wide world beyond our close personal relationships, a world of technology and specifically social media. She says, social media brings us into contact with on a daily, sometimes minute by minute basis. That's that constant strolling. Unfortunately, many of the connections we have through social media are superficial. It's a paradox that with all of our friends, fans, and our followers, deep connections are extremely rare. Despite our increased online networks, most people have only two confidants. Wow. In the silence of connection, people are comforted by being in touch with a lot of people. Carefully kept at bay, she says. says, wow, together. That is good. Why we expect more from technology and less from each other. Wow. We can't get enough of one another if we can use technology to keep one another at a distance that we can control. Not too close, not too far, but just right. Okay? I think of it as a Goldilocks effect. Texting and email and posting lets us present the self we want to be. This means we can edit, and if we wish to, we can delete. That's good. Or retouch the voice, the flesh, the face, the body. Not too much, not too little, but just right. She says, perhaps it is this editing that prevents real connections. This lack of transparency creates unrealistic expectations. Wow. About how our lives should really look. Perfect people, perfect people, perfectly decorated houses, perfectly coiffured hairstyles. She's going deep. How many selfies have you seen or posted after a new do? Happy children, happy couples, maybe. Outsiders seeing our Facebook threads would have no idea of the hardships, hurts, and reality we struggle through. All that perfection can be problematic. Dr. Cindy Trimm says, all that perfection can be problematic. When you present an image people know they can't compare or relate to, they distance themselves. The lack of transparency perpetuates the myth of perfection. Others assume we hold them to the same standard of false perfection. Wow. When we don't give ourselves permission to be free, we rarely tolerate that freedom in others. We put them down, make fun of them, ridicule their behaviors, and sometimes shame them. We can do this intentionally or unconsciously, says Bernie Brown. Remember, it is your relationship or your responsibility in relationships to bring integrity and congruency into your life. You can do this by allowing people to see the real you. You've already done the self-discovery work. You know the kind person you want to be. You know what your core values and virtues are. As we close out this section, I want to encourage you to be true to yourself and be honest with others in ways you represent yourself. Don't deny who you are so that you can fit in or paint a picture or a perfect image, right? The bravery you display by living authentically and transparently will empower others to do the same. All right, we're at the end of page 113, but we want to go ahead on and read this because this is really important about her teaching us about transparency. It says, winning action is creating congruency. Okay? Acts. Are my actions and words in alignment with who I really want to be? If not, what do you need to change? What will you change today? Is there any idea of your life that feels incongruent? For example, do your Facebook posts share only picture perfect moments? Wow. Page 114. Are you presenting an image that seems too good to be true? Remember that doing so can make you unapproachable, which can hamper your ability to influence others effectively. It's impossible, wow, to win if you're attempting to live behind a false front. As you've seen in the examples presented in this chapter, people who pretend to be something they're not, they risk and lose far more than they bargained for. Being who you are all the time eliminates the risk of being found out. Beyond that, there's immeasurable peace that comes from not having to hide or pretend. She says, be brave enough to be yourself and discover the unstoppable power within. Wow. Let's continue for section 3, Win Influence, on page 115. Because everything we say and do is the length and shadow of our own souls. Our influence is determined by the quality of our being, states Dale Turner. We begin this personal transformation process with self-discovery, learning who you are. With that crucial knowledge in mind, the next step was to better understand how and why to be true to yourself, your personality, your goals, and relationships. Now it's time to take that next step and share who you really are, she says, for their benefit and yours. You see, this journey isn't simple about improving your life. It's also making a difference in the world around you. The greater your sphere of influence, the greater the impact you make on the world. Wow. And the more unstoppable you will become. That's why this section is devoted to expanding your capacity to influence. First, you'll learn what influence is and how it should and shouldn't be used. You'll also learn strategies for connecting, page 116, with others in honest and meaningful ways. Wow. Then we'll look at how you can intentionally and authentically craft a brand that further increases your ability to become a powerful influencer. You'll learn how to set yourself apart in a highly competitive marketplace and make yourself memorable to all of those that you meet. As we close this section, we'll look at one of the most critical aspects of your reputation and credibility. All the work you put into designing a brand and making a difference in others' lives can be erased with a single poor choice of rashly spoken word, meaning untruth. Okay? Don't allow that to happen. Your credibility is the currency you use to grow your social capital. The final chapter in this section will show you how to cultivate and maintain unstoppable credibility. She says, let's get started. Chapter 7, page 117. Win through influence. Individually, we are one drop. Together, we are an ocean, says Runsuk Satoru. In the 1950s, American television audience thrilled to the adventures of the Lone Ranger. As he tamed the Wild West, this mysterious masked man embodied a time when a pistol, a horse, and a trusted sidekick were all anyone needed to save the day, right? The image of this solidarity writer became an enduring icon in American culture, but it is a far cry from the reality in modern life. We live in a time when people are more connected than ever. Smartphones and social media provide real time updates on the most mundane and monumental, let me say that correctly, aspect of daily life. While popularity culture may idealize the image of the Lone Ranger, modern life pushes us to stay engaged. Okay? To deny this fact is to cut yourself off from the resources and relationships you need to thrive. Because whether you realize it or not, yet you do need others in order to win. You heard the adage, it's not what you know, but who you know that counts. I might add that to who knows you matters a great deal as well. But be aware of what it means to know people. As I mentioned in the previous chapter, social media presents a paradox problem. While our online states, friends, followers, and fans may indicate huge networks, the reality is that many, oh, wait a minute, skip the page 119, many or most of those connections are superficial and thereby ineffective. More than the quantity of connections in your network, your success depends upon your ability to positively influence others. As John C. Maxwell and Jim Duran explains in their book, How to Influence People, if your desire is to be successful or to make a positive impact on your world, you need to become a person of influence. Without influence, there's no success. What is influence? She says. Influence is your ability to affect the behavior of another person without forcing them into actions. Influence isn't about commanding or directing people from a position of power, nor is it about coercion of manipulation. To some degree, we all have influence over and are influenced by others. It happens naturally when we spend time with people. You shop where your friends shop. You read what your friends read. Your children follow the traditions you learn from your parents. No one made you do those things. You are simply modeling learned behavior. That's why it's so important to be intentional about the people with whom you surround yourself by. But becoming a person of influence, one who makes a purposeful, positive impact on others' lives, requires intentionality. And it happens in incremental stages. In How to Influence People, Maxwell and Duran explains the four stages progression in the significance or amount of influence you have with others. As you move through these stages with a person, your relationship becomes more meaningful and beneficial to both parties. Model, motivate, mentor, multiply. Let's repeat that. Model, motivate, mentor, and multiply. All you read about each stage, I want you to do two things. Page 119. Watch for our winning themes: authenticity, integrity, and transparency. The best way to influence people is by knowing who you are, being who you are, and sharing who you are. If at any point you slip into pretending to be someone or something other, wow, other than yourself, there's a problem. Wow. Okay, I want to repeat that. That was good. So let me just read this one more time. Model, motivate, mentor, and multiply. Let's keep that in our minds, okay? So it says, if at any point you slip into pretending to be someone or something other than your authentic self, your lack of integrity will damage, if not eradicate, your capability of influence. So that's us damaging our ability to influence ourselves or others. Okay. Think about the people in your life and the depth of relationship you have with them. How might you move with those people from one stage to the next? Okay, let's go over it. Model. People are first influenced by what they see. Explain Maxwell and Durain. Before people accept your influence in their lives, they will watch to see if your words and actions are congruent, right? To earn the right to influence another person's life, you must first model, which is show, she has in parentheses, your worthiness through your own authentic behavior, words, and results. Okay. Motivate. You become a motivational influencer when you encourage people and communicate with them on their emotional level. Right, Maxwell and Duran. Only when you connect with people in meaningful ways can you expect to move them into action. Making that connection requires time, transparency, and trust. You must invest time in your relationship and demonstrate yourself to be who you say you are over and over again. Okay. Mentor. The next stage of influence comes when you take motivation to a higher, more personal level. Maxwell and Duran defines mentoring as pouring your life into other people and helping them reach their potential. Wow. At this stage, you invite people to look behind the curtain to see how to activate and achieve what you've achieved, right? Multiply, she says. As a multiplying influencer, You help people to become positive influencers in the lives of others and also pass on not only what they have received from you, but also what they have learned and gleaned on their own, wrote Maxwell and Duran. Page 120. As we, or as you might expect, she says, developing this level of influence requires significant time, communication, and care. It is also how you can create a legacy, something we'll discuss more in chapter 11. Increasing your influence is about the difference you make in the lives of others. The process begins with one-to-one relationships that are developed and nurtured over time. As the depth of those relationships increase, so does your circle of influence. Each time you reach the multiply stage with a new person, you then have the ability to influence that person's network as well. Person by person, you can make a positive impact on the world. That was powerful. Check your motives. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People will never forget how you made them feel. That's Maya Angelou. Okay. Cindy Trimm says, have you ever desperately wanted a specific person to be your friend? It might have been a childhood classmate who played fun games at recess, or the cool girl at school whom all of the boys noticed. You might have thought, if I could just sit at her table at lunchtime, or the other kids will think I'm cool too. Or maybe you wanted to befriend a colleague who had the kind of professional connections you could only dream of. Or a wealthy uncle whom you hoped would share the spoils of his riches. Whatever the reason, you longed for what these relationships could give you. That longing reflects a common desire because we are made for relationships. A healthy drive pushes us to connect with others. However, at times, our motivation isn't pure. Author Donald Miller asks anyone who longs for relationships an important question. Do we love because we love, or do we love in order to be loved? The first question is pure. The second isn't any more selfless than not loving at all. Page 121. Miller gets to the heart of the issue. At times, we desire relationships for what they can give us rather than for what we can give to the other person. It's crucial to remember that your ability to influence others starts with understanding that you need others and that others need you. The goal is to establish the nurture mutual beneficial relationship caused. Selfish motives are easily apparent and end up turning others off. They impair our judgment, and because of the distrust they create, they can impair our ability to influence. Having the right motives is vital to the health of any relationship. She says, unfortunately, it's far easier to guess at other people's motives than to recognize and admit to our own. We simply watch their behavior and make assumptions about the reasons behind their actions. Our assumptions may or may not be correct. Nevertheless, she says we make judgments about the person based on what we believe about their motives. Well, guess what? Others are doing the same thing, making judgments about their motives. That's why being aware of what drives your behavior is crucial. The truth is that just as you are responsible for your actions, you are accountable for your motives. And just as it is possible to change your mindset, it is possible to develop positive motives to determine the right way to relate. It's helpful, she says, to understand how unhealthy motives might look. Okay. You may pursue relationships to fill a need in your life. Loving relationships can fill legitimate needs in your life, like the need for companionship, to collaborate, or to accomplish with what one person cannot accomplish alone. However, if you seek relationships because you feel lonely, bored, or insecure, you may be exploiting the other person. Wow. Miller explains, when we love in order to get security, the person we love is just being used. Page number 122. You may cultivate relationships for what they can give you. Maybe you value a friend's social connections, status, or clout. Authentic relationships are mutually beneficial, but will improve motives. You value what the relationship gives you more than you value the person. Mm. You may use relationships to distract you from other areas of your life. Nothing keeps your mind off a problem like staying busy, right? Financial worries. Enjoy a night on the town with the girls and pretend like nothing is wrong. Fighting with your wife. Spend more time at the basketball court playing pickup with your friends. Healthy relationships, she says, provide valuable stress relief. But with unhealthy motivation, they merely distract you from the deeper issues going on in your life, which is unfortunate for your friend or partner. You can't be fully attentive to their needs when you're using the relationships as a distraction. Wow. Okay. Y'all know I like to repeat stuff. So let me read that again. Which is unfortunate for your friend or partner. You can't be fully attentive to their needs when you're using the relationship as a distraction. How can you be sure to develop pure motives in your relationship? First, put others first. This practice goes against human nature, but making it your motive can serve you well. As author and speaker Zig Ziglar said so often, you will get all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. If you really want to win, put others first. Never view yourself as the most important person in a relationship. Mm. Find joy in giving without expecting anything in return. Transactions are an everyday part of our lives. We exchange money for services and products all day long. We trade and barter and haggle, and we almost always get something in return for our money, time, or effort. But this level of giving she's talking about is different. Influencers seek transformation rather than transaction. To change this perversive expectation for a fair trade, page number 123, determine to begin giving something of yourself without requiring, asking, or desiring any form of payment. Look for opportunities to help people who have no way of repaying you. That is good. Dale Carnegie, author of The Frame, How to Win Friends and Influence People, describes the feeling you will get when you give of yourself unselfishly without anticipating any reward as one that flows and sings in your memory long after the incident is past. Mm. Stop looking to others for approval. I hope that as you worked through the self discovery portions of the life transformation process, you begin to address the need to impress others. Mm. In truth, as you become intentional about living authentically, the craving for others' approval diminishes. The reason for this is that you begin to experience the reality that giving your best, truest self to the world is more beneficial and satisfying than trying to fit in or into anyone else's mold. Mm. Take some time to evaluate the relationships you value and check your motives. Why are you drawn to each of those people? Are you seeking to get or to give? Are you more concerned with what the other person can do for you than with what you can bring to the relationship? If you want to become a person of influence, you must stop viewing your relationships as transactional and start looking for ways you can improve or even transform the other person's life. Mm. Who do you influence? Relationships are all there is. Everything in the universe only exists because it is in relationship to everything else. Nothing exists in isolation. We have to stop pretending we are individuals that can go at it alone. Margaret Wheatley. Let's continue. Page 124. At the moment of your birth, you enjoy the constellation of relationships that connects all human beings. Wow. From the doctor who grasps your slippery newborn's feet to your mother who pulled you to her chest, to the neighbor who welcomed your parents home from the hospital. Each encounter, she says, introduced you to a lifetime of interaction with others. Each of us live lives within a relational constellation, a vast network of people that flows from our most intimate personal relationships through to our business and civic associations and ultimately to the world at large. As we've already seen, influence does not happen without relationships. By evaluating your current connections, you can see where and with whom you currently have the most impact. There are 5 categories of people in your relational constellation, ranging from distant acquaintances to your most personal connections. As you take a broad look at these categories, you may be surprised and encouraged by the wealth of relationships you possess. Look for gaps in your network and identify people with whom you like to establish a stronger connection, either personally or professionally. Realize what that stronger, wait, realize that the stronger your connections are, the greater your capacity to influence. The 5 most important categories of relational networks. Your database. This refers to everyone whom you consider a contact. These are people you've interacted with by email, phone, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, or Twitter. You may have met them at speaking engagements or in the community. You may have simply acquired their business card at an event or been referred to them by a friend or a colleague. This will be your largest group of relationships. These people may know your name and title, may not. Even if they don't, she says, know much about you, they have an impression of your reputation and have probably already determined whether they think you are real and trustworthy. Your network. This category refers to specific subgroups of people with whom you share affinity or with whom you share a greater degree of trust. For example, you might belong to a university alumni group, participate in a business network, attend a church together, or frequent the same social events. These people know enough about you, if they respect you, they would be willing to offer a personal recommendation for your work. Networks are rarely, networks, let me repeat that. Networks rarely exceed 200 contacts. To determine if someone is in your network, ask yourself, would this person return my phone call in a timely manner? That's something to think about. Your inner circle. This category describes people who will give you candid feedback about your personal life or career. You need trustworthy, honest people in your inner circle who will push you to be your best. These relationships are mutually beneficial, purpose driven, achievement focused, value adding, collaborative, and supportive. And because they know and like you, they are the people you can count on. Lend a hand, she says, or lend a hand. The people in your inner circle may fluctuate, but ideally, you will have from 20 to 30 people in this category. All right, that's good. Number 4, advisors, or mentors. These are the 5 or 6 people who keep an eye on your life and whom you trust to provide direction and redirection when necessary. These are the individuals who will give you solid advice, perpetuative, and counsel, who will and hold you accountable for maximizing your potential while living true to your core values. They are the people who care how you are doing as a whole person. Friends, number 5, and family. Your most significant relationships are the people closest to you. These are the people who know you best and will walk with you through any circumstance. Page 126. Think back to our discussion on transparency in the previous chapter. How you present yourself in a social media determines, wait, how you present yourself in social media determines how your database, your largest group of contact, sees you. The people in your network have all probably seen you in enough social settings to get a feel for your authenticity. Those who know the real you, your inner circle, mentors, family members, and close friends, should see no disconnect between your public face and your private life. As you evaluate your relationship, constellation, consider where you fit into others' constellations. Do people know and trust you enough to call on you for help or advice? She says, are you authentic and approachable enough that those in your network would feel comfortable reaching out to you? That's something to think about. Gathering a circle of trustworthy, talented people around you will open doors to new opportunities, raise the level of your game, and provide support in a time of need. But don't believe the myth that your influence is determined solely by the number of people in your database. The quality of your relationships is valuable, or she says, is as valuable as if not more so than the quantity of contacts in your phone. You don't have to have big names in your network. You don't need Warren Buffett's Rolodex to be successful in life, she says. Counsels Liz Lynch, author of Smart Networking. Rather than pine for the network you don't have, appreciate and leverage the one you do have. Instead of attempting to build a network with strangers, develop more significant connections with the people you know. People will be more motivated to listen to, support, and follow you if they already have a relationship with you. How to influence positivity and effectively, right? If we want to make friends, let's put ourselves out to do things for people, things that require time, energy, unselfishness, and thoughtfulness. Dale Carnegie. Page number 127. Clearly, relationships are where your influence begins. You can build neither overnight. In their book, Career Distinction, William Aruda and Christian Dixon stresses the importance of building relationships before you need them. When someone comes to me for advice on how to build a network because they need a job now, I tell them it's useless. People can tell the difference between desperation and an earnest attempt to create a relationship. That's why it's so important to check your motives. She has that in parentheses. Let's read a little bit further. To be interesting to others, be interested in others. The royal road to a person's heart is to talk about the things he or she treasures most, wrote Dale Carnegie. It's important to note he didn't say pretend to be interested in others. To have real influence with others, they must feel that you genuinely care about them. If you're pretending to like them or half listen as they speak, they will see right through you. And there goes any shot of making a positive difference in their lives. So, what if you're not interested in the things they like to talk about? Listen anyway, she says. Listening to others and engaging them in conversation shows that you care about the person to whom you are speaking. Add value to people's lives. People want to be around someone who adds value to the relationships. You can increase the quality of life for those around you by offering tangible, concrete, she says in parentheses, value or intangible, relational, emotional value. To add tangible value, help people get something. You might connect prospective buyers with sellers, introduce someone to a potential business partner, recommend a friend for a job, page 128, gather information on a colleague's behalf, counsel someone as they make a decision, or provide access to people, places, or experiences. To add intangible value, help people feel something. You can provide support. That's a good one. Let people know you have their back and can be called upon in the time of need. Express gratitude to make people feel appreciated, or regularly interact. See people on a regular basis to deepen your relationship and create opportunities to engage one another. Influencers desire the best for people in their lives, and they not don't, generously share resources, relationships, and support. Okay, I stumbled on that a bit, so I'm going to repeat that before we end this session. Influencers desire the best for the people in their lives, and they generously share resources, relationships, and support. Oh my goodness. We're stopping on page 128. This has been a very wisdom filled session here, because she's teaching us so much about how to go into relationships, to build upon them relationships, and for them to be authentically for us, like big for us, not just in a selfish reason, but we're looking at them, caring for them, and wanting to be in true and a pure relationship with others, not just for what they can give us. We want to be in relationships and want to get to know people authentically for who they are, their true core values, their positive mindsets, right? Oh my goodness, it has been such a pleasure. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me on our number 9 Read With Me. We are almost finished with this powerful wisdom filled book by Dr. Cindy Trimm. It has been a doozer, right? They say that. Anyway, I just want to thank you guys for showing up. I want to also thank those who are just listening. It's okay with me if you're here just to listen. That's fine. However, we get this information is good. Okay. Just be determined to get it. So I just want to thank you guys again. Until next time, read with me. I love you guys and thank you so much for listening.